I've noticed that I have this rate of activity to recovery, and it's about 1 to 3. If I spend 1 hour out in the world, I need 3 hours of rest and recovery to be back to my baseline. A full day means 3 days. Now, if we apply this math to my trip to Los Angeles, which I took at the end of January, beginning of February, that trip was 10 days long. During that trip, I pushed myself harder than I normally would, and I was exposed to a variety of stressors, good and bad, and there were new experiences and complications, and all of those things drain me. So we can add an additional week on for that, and then that's a full month to recover, at least. I barely remember the drive home from the airport after that trip. I was done. I got in bed and I crashed hard. I slept for about a week. I was really only coming back to myself mid-March. But do I regret it? Nope. I had a wonderful time. I spent quality time with people that I love, and I got to do and try things that I've always wanted to do. So to me, it was entirely worth it. And then it was my birthday. My birthday is in March 20th. I turned 28 this year. I didn't do much, but I did go out for dinner with Marvin and a very dear friend of mine, and that was very nice. And then it was April, or as I like to call it, Hell Month. April is always really hard for me, and I know it's the same for a lot of other autistic people, even though it really shouldn't be. And somehow, at the end of every April, I find myself looking back and thinking, wow, that one was a doozy. And now here we are. And what I like to talk about today is rest and recovery. Some people can just go. Allegedly, they exist. They don't really worry about energy tokens or spoons or managing their activity budget because on a normal day, they can just trust that their body will provide what they need to do what they need to do. But people who regularly deal with illness or injury, who have chronic fatigue or chronic pain, who have mental health conditions or any other kind of disabilities like myself, we have a different normal. The amount of energy we have is limited and variable. We often can't anticipate how we'll be doing a month, a week, or even an hour from now. When I was a teenager, I didn't yet have ME, which is also known as CFS or chronic fatigue syndrome. But I was still autistic, so I was working with limited mental energy, and I had variable functioning because of that. But physically, I could just go. I used to walk everywhere all the time, and I didn't worry about actually running out of energy and not being able to get home because I knew that if I could sit down, hydrate, maybe have a snack, my body would make more energy and I could get back. Now, when it comes to physical activity and doing things or even just being awake, my body can and does just stop. My CFS crashes come on fast, and there's really nothing to be done but rest. And back to that mental energy thing. Simply existing while neurodivergent can be exhausting. Dealing with sensory input and overload, manually processing data, carefully navigating social situations, while also trying to monitor your own body language, tone of voice, voice volume. Add masking or passing onto that, that's additional stress, all while trying to do what you are there to do, to get stuff done and live your life. It's a lot. We work hard. So to understand and support autistic and otherwise neurodivergent people, you really have to understand that and keep it in mind. Some people need frequent breaks or have big activity to rest ratios, like me. Sometimes people have to retreat to a quiet or safe space for a while. People might have to decline invitations or leave early, not because they don't want to be there, but because they have to. And these things are often misunderstood. People can be offended by someone leaving a family gathering to go read in their room for a while, because to them, they feel fine socializing for hours and may even be energized by it. But autistic people can reach a point where they just can't anymore. And pushing past that point can result in some pretty uncomfortable and unpleasant results like meltdowns or shutdowns or just totally crashing and then having to cancel plans or activity in the future so that you can recover. But the really important thing, as you're keeping that in mind, is that it's never anyone else's place to tell someone what their limits are. No matter how well you think you know someone or how well you understand their experience, you must trust people when they tell you what they need, through words or actions. That's respect. They know their body. They know their mind. They know what it's like from the inside. So even if something doesn't make sense to you, even if what a person can do is variable and changes day to day or hour to hour, even if you just don't get it, you can respect it. And do not attribute to rudeness or disinterest what is actually explained by mental fatigue or a simple need for rest. And speaking of things that need a rest, Avengers Endgame. Everyone is talking about it. You might be sick of hearing about it, but I have something that I'd like to say about it. Everyone I've talked to about the movie just assumes that I have seen it or that I will see it in theaters soon. And that assumption does make sense if you know me. I'm a big fan of superhero movies and Marvel in general, but I won't be seeing Endgame in theaters. I'll have to wait until I can watch it in the comfort of my own home. Because a 3-hour runtime and no intermissions and all that hype around how you don't want to miss a single moment, that is a lot of stress for someone with disabilities that affects their bladder, blood pressure, circulation, and just ability to sit in an uncomfortable chair for 3 hours without injury. Vilisa Thompson, the founder of Ramp Your Voice and the creator of the Disability2White hashtag, wrote a great article about this for MTV, about the inaccessibility of Endgame's runtime, the inherent ableism that people don't really think about in movie culture, and also hashtag PMath. So I will link that article below, and I do recommend it. And to finish off this vlog today, I have a recommendation for all of you. It is the Zandri Coralel series by Kaia Sønderby. I may not have said any of that right, I'm sorry. I hope I pronounced Kaia's name right. But I will link to the series and also list some trigger warnings for the first book in the video description below. As of yet, I've only read the first book, Failure to Communicate, which I loved, and I do plan on reading the rest. Failure to Communicate is a sci-fi novel set in the far future, and it features a bisexual, autistic woman of color as the protagonist. It's an own voices novel, as Sønderby is autistic and queer herself, and aside from being well-written, enjoyable to read, it has the most sincere and affirming fictional autistic representation that I've ever encountered, and I do read a lot. When I'm done with this video, I am going to film a proper review of that book, Failure to Communicate. And now it's time for me to walk my talk and rest, so that I can do a little bit more later. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I gave you something to think about, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.